Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kallas and Marks with your host, Joe Staszak. Of course, my co-hosts, Steve and Johnny Kallas. Gentlemen, week 15 in the books. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Looking forward to talking about these ones.
Yeah, there's some interesting games, and of course, it was sort of a sad ending to a couple of stars and their seasons, and even a dynasty kind of went by the wayside. Although I think that ship had already sailed. Start last night. We'll start with last night's game. For what it's worth, Miami goes into Pittsburgh, and Mike Tomlin. Don't look now, but he's one win away from another winning season. Technically, not sure what that's going to mean for his gig, but. Dolphins just don't show up in cold weather. They just don't. You can tell they don't seem all that interested in being there. 28-15 a final. Johnny, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll let Steve. He has more to say about this one. I think
Okay.
the Dolphins just their quarterback playing cold weather just doesn't even approach being good enough. And this is another classic one where the stat line and the old school quarterback rating do not really match what the quarterback actually did. 22 to 28, 253, two touchdowns and a pick. Technically, his rating of 113.2, but his QBR on a scale of 0 to 100, 12.2, and that is accurately describes Tua's outing. They just can't win cold weather games. They look like they could run the ball a little bit early on. And look, they're going against one of the, I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, but he is one of the two or three greatest cold weather quarterbacks of all time. Steelers are in the driver's seat of the AFC North.
Well, I was dumb enough to actually pick Miami and thought they could win the game. And
Same here.
I thought, frankly, early on, I, I, I mean, the first play of the game, they go play action, everybody going right, and they have a tight end who's got like 9 catches all year, and he runs out alone. He gets 20 yards on the first play. Then they ran it a couple of times and it was going good. And then I don't know why they decide to throw the ball so much. I really don't. And what Johnny said, Tua has real good numbers, but Tua was terrible. He got sacked 5 times. I think three of them he could have easily thrown it away. Well, what are you thinking? Like, what's the analysis? But the worst part of all, early on, was they're driving a little. They're first and 10. Well, two things I'll say. They're first and 10. Miami's first and 10 on the Steelers 40. It's nothing, nothing. I mean, it was almost nothing, nothing the whole first half. It's nothing, nothing. So what do? To me, you run it 3 times. If you get 10 yards, you keep going. If you don't, you kick a field goal and you're up 3-0. And on first and 10, he throws that lob. I mean, it was like a lob. It was 5 to 7 yards short. And I forget who the receiver was, but he was 5 yards. Oh, it was Waddle, and he was 5 yards clear. He had to come back to try and knock down the ball, which he was unable to do. And that's the weekly Tua interception now. He's got 15 interceptions in 14 games. And I don't know. It was just frustrating to watch because I thought they could run all over Pittsburgh, and they had some success very early on, as Johnny said. But then, for some reason, they were throwing it a lot, and maybe it'll be there were eight in the box. Maybe that's true. But if they're terrible at the run, then your guys are good. And don't forget, they had no Watt. But 5 sacks. Again, you got to throw the ball away. It was just very weird. The other thing I'll say, early in the game. I don't know that this was a panic move by Tomlin or not, but early in the game, and I'm sure you guys saw it if you watched, they were fourth and one from their own 28 or 29, I think, or maybe 31, but right around there. And they went for it and they made it. A few minutes later, Miami has it on their own 38, and it's this far. This is the one where Tua tried to run for the first down, but he slid. And I'm not telling him not to. He's got the concussion history, but he's literally this far. And what's the coach thinking? They punted. So I just this is the old. What did they have to lose? I mean, if they won all their last few games, which they weren't going to do, they still had like a small chance to make the playoffs. But I just don't understand. This is usually when the team that's losing everything, even though they won four in a row, they just automatically go for it. What's the big deal? What's the downside? And by the way, they had stopped the Steelers. They were 0 for 5 on third down, but they were like, I think, 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 on fourth and inches. They made, I think, virtually every one. I think one they got stopped at the goal line, then they scored the next. It's not really worth talking about it. I just made a mistake thinking that they could do it because of the running game, Joe. I think, they have a really good running game. And yes, it's cold. and Tua is trying to beat that. Maybe they threw it because Tua wants to beat his reputation, which is now just worse. And it is what it is. But hey, a big win for the Steelers. Give them credit. I think Rogers threw it. I think he was like, I don't know, 85% or something. It was unbelievable. It was like 13 for his first 14 or something. And I give him credit. 23 for 27, 224 yards, two touchdowns, no picks. And once they got a TD at the one final stupid thing, and we can leave this game, Joe. I'm sorry. You win the coin toss. You're Miami, you win the coin toss. And they want the ball. And oh, here are the announcers going, "Oh, I think that's a great idea." Why is that a great idea? Troy Aikman, Hall of Fame quarterback. Oh, I think that's really good that they did that. Why? Tell me why. Aggressiveness? Well, I've said enough. Obviously, he ruined my
I
3 and
mean,
0.
neither you're obviously stinging from that loss last night.
I was 2 and 0 and I only had one game to go, Joe. But we'll talk about that on Friday. I'll take a hit.
I feel you, man. Trust me, I feel you. All right, let's move on. Let's go up to Foxborough. Johnny, I told you, pretty sure I almost texted you. It was 21-0. I took the Bills. I thought I don't believe in revenge games necessarily. I just thought they might be the better team, and with New England maybe not really having played anyone formidable this year. Although, hey, what were they, 11-2 going into the game, and you are what your record says you are. 21-0, but they gave them a lot of time. They gave Buffalo a lot of time. And in the second half, I think the Patriots, three punts, an interception, one scoring drive of one play, Trayvon Henderson, 65 yards. I think they rushed for 68 yards in the second half. 65 came on one play. Like they complete turnaround. And I'm sure you watched the whole game. Like, what happened?
Well, the Bills went on a 35 to 10 run and they scored on a five consecutive scored not just scored, they scored touchdowns on five consecutive drives towards the end of the first half through the earlier part of the fourth quarter. I think the Patriots red zone defense, which actually was pretty much their sore spot coming into this game, one of the NFL's worst, obviously, really struggled in this one. It did not help that not only was Milton Williams out of the game, who I think is primarily the reason they had the league's best run defense, and that has all but evaporated since. But Robert Spillane, their best linebacker, was a game time decision. And somewhat surprisingly, because he actually practiced during the week, they ended up holding him out. And I think that hurt them as well. And look, when you have one of the worst red zone defenses in the league and you're up against Josh Allen, who I think has to be the prototype of about the best red zone quarterback you could imagine, just the way he can scramble, also when he's able to get out right and throw on the run, not so great things are going to happen. The Patriots ran the ball a little bit, but you're right, Joe. I mean, Trevion Henderson is a home run threat. He had two of them in this game, but really not much else on the ground outside of those two home run bombs. The only thing I'll say about the Patriots defense is they did give their offense a chance. They did get finally after giving up five straight touchdowns, they got to stop that Drake May and the Patriots offense, which went quiet quick, just were not able to capitalize on. Patriots still in control of their destiny in the AFC East. In terms of just the East, this game this weekend actually matters very little against the Ravens. They just need to win both the game against the Jets and the Dolphins, but still pretty disappointing. And obviously, the Bills are riding high going into January, though I still think the Bills defensively, Joey Bosa did have a big knockdown at the end of the game. They have a couple of playmakers. There's still a lot to be desired on the defensive side of the defense if you're Buffalo. And I know this is Josh Allen's time with Mahomes being out, Burrow being out, Lamar maybe not making it into the playoffs, but they have some issues as well. I think New England just got up too quick, too soon. And look, May had a chance with the ball in his hand to go down and win the game, something that really hasn't happened a lot this year because they have dominated so many of these not so good teams and didn't come through. But the important ones are yet to come.
Their record is 10-4 are the Bills. And if I just woke up and looked at that, I'd be like, all right, yeah, they got Josh Allen and whatnot. They're coming off of back-to-back wins, a huge 21-point comeback win and a huge 10-point win in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left against the Bengals. But it's the fourth time they've given up 30 or more points in a game. They lost back-to-back games earlier in the year to the Patriots after starting off 4-0, and then they lost to the Falcons, and they did lose to the Dolphins. And they got smoked by the Texans. They're kind of an up and down team. And you mentioned that defense, Johnny, that I don't know who Buffalo really is yet, except they're Josh Allen and they're all Josh Allen. And I do like um, the running back, the brother of the guy I wanted the Eagles to draft, James.
James Cook. James
Thank
Cook.
you, James Cook. I think he's phenomenal. But Steve, what are we thinking about this Buffalo team heading into the playoffs without, like Johnny said, without Mahomes and probably without Lamar, maybe Lamar, but you know when I think of him in the playoffs, and Joe Burrow's not going to be there, and you know the usual suspects won't be in his way.
Yeah, I think they're thinking this is the year. I thought the door was closing on them, especially when they, look like they're in trouble. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think Johnny's right. I think the Patriots can beat the Ravens, even though the Ravens finally, won a game. But I don't think I think Buffalo is a factor to be considered more than usual because of what you just said. The Chiefs and Mahomes are not going to beat him in the playoffs. He's not going to be 0-5 instead of 0-4 or whatever those numbers are. But the Patriots disappointed me only because they needed somebody to make a play. They're up 21 nothing and nobody made a play until Henderson had that second incredible touchdown run and that put them back up. And then you were just hoping, well, maybe because they had been shut down and Buffalo was able
I
to,
went right down the field and scored, took the lead back.
but Buffalo five consecutive, they got the ball five straight times and they scored five straight touchdowns. So that's something the Patriots really are going to have to work on defensively. Johnny's right; they're missing some guys. Um, but the only thing that happened, and the funny thing, of course, was May actually, I don't know if he threw a block, but he got in the way of a guy who maybe had a chance to catch Henderson. I'm not sure he would have, but those were two outstanding runs. And it's what Johnny said. This guy's a home run hitter. And I think he's going to see more time now because he is a home run hitter and he hit two home runs,
He is.
but it wasn't enough. So I think Buffalo, only because what have we talked about all year? The Chiefs aren't the Chiefs, the Eagles aren't the Eagles, the Ravens aren't the Ravens. I even had for a while the Bills aren't the Bills, but now the Bills are back in the mix. I don't think it'll be a collapse if the Patriots don't win, certainly don't win the AFC East. I mean, they have to win that, it seems to me. No, Johnny, the Jets and the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Patriot. And if I could just say one final thing about this game, I'm biased. I'm a Patriots fan. A couple tic-tacky calls on these DPIs. I don't. The Marcus Jones face guarding. I think that technically is a DPI where he ends up with the ball. It would have been an interception.
Yeah.
I just, and I'll say this even if it goes against the Patriots. I want to see them in these big games, especially in the second half. Let them play. Let them play. If it's egregious and if it's obviously a foul, call it. But there's a little bit of I'd like to see them let them play a little bit more. But Bills definitely deserve to win. Come playoff time, a little fewer flags would be nice.
I think the Bills aren't the Bills either, to be honest with you. They're not quite the Bills as they have been the Bills because of their defense. And I think the defense that has emerged in the AFC is Houston's. I think that's a lot. You can't hide from those guys. You know what I mean? Like you can't if you have the ball, where are you going? You might want to get rid of it because you're going to get slobber knocked. But they are fun to watch. The Bills are fun to watch, and I love Josh Allen and some of the touchdown passes he makes. He makes you kind of think, why was all the hype about Mahomes? Because Mahomes won championships. Let's take you to Arrowhead, where they put up a big goose egg in the third quarter and fourth quarter against the Chargers, coming off a big Monday night win over the Eagles in overtime. Justin Herbert again with one hand, 16-13. And then late in the fourth quarter, unfortunately, Mahomes, I believe it's his left knee, tore his ACL. He's going to be out a while. But the Chiefs, getting back to football and not making light or little of that injury because that's massive. I mean, for anybody. I mean, it happened to Brady after a few of his Super Bowls, and they took him a while to get back the Patriots to winning Super Bowls. But the Chiefs are 22nd in the league in running the football, and for the third year in a row, unofficially, I have to make sure this is unofficial. I did hear this. So they led the league in drops again. You know what I mean? They didn't deserve to make the playoffs and they were overvalued by Vegas every week. I think it might have been the fourth or fifth week they were 3 or 4 point favorite over a team that just beat them outright. Steve, your thoughts on the end of the Chiefs dynasty?
Well, I mean, it's not a big surprise. I'm not sure they were going to win again. As Johnny said, when I say, well, they might have lost anyway. Well, it's Mahomes' last 2 minutes of the game. They're down three. At least they're going to get a field goal and go into overtime or whatever. But the Chiefs haven't been the Chiefs for a long time, and it's not Mahomes' fault. He just doesn't seem to be. For example, is Kelsey going to come back next year? It was minorly surprising he came back this year, and I would say he had an up and down year at the beginning. I thought he was really bad, and he had some good games and everything, but I don't know. I don't know how they're going to be the Chiefs because, well, you guys probably know. I mean, yesterday Mahomes actually had the surgery already, which is pretty interesting. I thought sometimes you have to wait for the swelling to go down. I could be totally wrong. Maybe there was no
It's
swelling.
late in the year. It's December. I mean, he's not gonna be back for the whole season next year.
Well, I don't
I mean, he's
know
not gonna be
because
out
now,
for the whole season. I mean, he's not gonna be back in September to start the season. I
yeah,
don't
but
think
now they
so.
say it's like 9 months recovery now,
Going
and
to be
if it is
close.
9 months recovery, even if you bring him back in October, they're going to need a good backup. I don't know.
Gardner Minshew is their guy right now, I think, right?
Well, I mean, Gardner
Carson Wentz was their
Minshew,
guy before.
he can be okay. Gardner Minshew, is he enough for them to win? They're not going to be the dominant defense. I still don't think anymore. And right now, to me anyway, they're not going to be the dominant offense, and that's why the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs before this injury. But if they had lost that game, and again, it's hard to say. Mahomes has the ball, and for the final drive in the last 2 minutes, they only need a field goal, but there was no guarantee that they were definitely going to do it, even though Mahomes was still Mahomes until this injury. And you tell me, Johnny, maybe he calls up Tom Brady. Maybe they have a relationship and say, "Well, how'd you do it? You missed a whole year. You tore your ACL, and then you became Tom Brady again." And
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens. I just don't think the Chiefs. People were talking what, a year ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago. He's better than Tom Brady, and he's going to win all these Super Bowls. And I said even
I was
then.
not one of them, but thank you.
I said even then, well, you're going to have to win like not even six. You got to win seven, and I don't know if that can happen in modern day football. And don't forget, we love the coach, but I saw a thing on him now. He's 67 years old. These guys this morning on the thing with Greeny, Get Up, I think it is. They were saying like, well, he's got 10 more years left to play. I don't know.
You talking about Andy Reid or you talking about Patrick Mahomes?
No, Mahomes has 10 more years, but I don't think Andy Reid has 10 more years because he's 67. But then, Marv Levy was in the
Belichick.
70s. So I don't know what's going to happen. I just don't think they're the dominant Chiefs, even if when he comes back healthy. And that might be in October, Joe. You don't know. This guy's going to work every day as hard as he can work, and
If
October
he's
is
Adrian Peterson, maybe I don't know. That's
October is
pretty.
the 10th month of the year, and he already had surgery. Like I said, he had surgery yesterday. So again, you only get a couple of weeks here, but he's going to do whatever he can do, and he might be the guy who sets the new all-time low. But you got to make sure you're 100% when you come back. And even then, I'm not sure how good the Chiefs are next year.
And when you do come back, it does take you a little bit to get going. You don't just hit the ground running. But Johnny, should we have seen kind of this coming? Look, they won 11 games, I think, by one score last year, kind of playing the high wire act, which oftentimes ends up in a chalk outline, and it imploded in the Super Bowl. I mean, that wasn't competitive. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't competitive. So then, fast forward to this year, people are looking at, well, okay, they got clipped by the Eagles. Maybe, they were just not as good or underprepared or blah, blah, blah. Or maybe they were just exhausted for playing 3 straight years into February. But it kind of just transferred into the season. They lost the first two games of the season. The percentages of teams that don't make the playoffs when that happens. And then I think they got up to 500, 3-3, but they never were right.
Yeah, though you're Houston Texans, and I totally agree with you on that analysis, Joe. 0-3 to start this year, and
0 and
they're
3 to start the year. That's right.
about as
Remember,
any.
CJ GJ got bounced from the team. He was all mad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think so. The Chiefs, it's sort of interesting to think about because you could see it coming. Clearly, they had a lack of talent last year, but they overcame it by being at their best in the fourth quarter of these one possession games. This year, it's the complete opposite. They were at their worst in the fourth quarter of these one possession games, and that explains the difference. I think it's a huge question for the Chiefs. Are you just revamping a little bit, or do you have a modified? I'll never use the word rebuild when you have Mahomes as your quarterback. Do you have a modified rebuild? Kelsey's getting old, Chris Jones is getting old, the defense isn't quite as good. Mahomes wasn't as good throwing the deep ball this year. Only difference I'll say, I think he could make a play for coming back opening day. he relies on his knees a lot more than Tom Brady did. I mean,
Yeah.
he needs to be
That's
okay. He
true.
scrambles a lot. And Brady, that first year back, I understand 15 years makes a big difference with these injuries. He was 2009 Tom Brady, his first year back. Numbers were way down compared to obviously '07, but even 2010, 11 Brady. To your point, Joe, it takes you a little bit to come back. Just the last thing I'll say on that comparison, I've heard it brought out. Both quarterbacks tore their ACL in year nine. Both had won three Super Bowls. Both had been league MVP. Big difference, though, because I already hear the Chiefs folks doing this comparison. Big difference is Brady injured it in the first game of the season. They would have
Right.
been 15-1 or 16-0 that year. The Chiefs were effectively already out of the playoffs. Not Mahomes' fault, but just not a very good team. So I do think there's a bit of a difference there. There was one other point that I was gonna bring up, but the only other I just don't know if the Chiefs. The other big difference is their division, man. I mean, I think another thing you saw this year, Joe, that's different than last year. The Broncos have come along. They're look like one of the two best teams in football. The Chargers are winning close games now. So the Chiefs, Mahomes is going to come back into a division minus the Raiders. That's really good. We'll just have to see what happens next year. But he has to rely on those knees, man. He needs that knee to be healthy. He can't. He's not a pocket passer. He's not only a pocket passer.
He does a lot with his knees. He absolutely does. And you mentioned the Broncos. Can't argue with 12-2. They seem to come alive in the second half. Micah Parsons was the other star that tore his knee up late in the third quarter, ACL tear, and he was having a nice year. And I think really turned that team into a pretender to a possible contender. I don't love the quarterback, but they have been winning since the Eagles beat them in Lambeau. They had been winning up until this week. He tears his ACL. Jordan Love throws a couple of bad picks late. And Bo Nix, Steve, just, seems to turn it on in the second half. And he's pretty athletic guy, four touchdowns, no interceptions. He wasn't touched. Jersey is clean on 134.7 rating. And they got a pretty stalwart defense and travels in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's the key for Denver, I think. Although again, the Packers, they lost Watson. That was a big loss for them offensively now because he's a star. I don't know if anybody knows that, but he's a star. And Jacobs made an incredible catch in the end zone. He was a running back running a 20-yard pattern to make an incredible catch. I thought they were going to win that game. And then Parsons got hurt. Give Bo Nix credit, but Bo Nix has been kind of an up and down team. And you see when they do what they do in the fourth quarter, um, again, it's a different deal. Parsons got hurt towards the end of the third quarter and wasn't around in the fourth quarter. And it's what you always say, Joe. Love had some love interceptions, and he had a couple in this game. But I still thought the Packers could win the game. And then when Parsons got hurt, I thought they were in trouble. And you know what Denver can do in the fourth quarter, however they do it, including 33 points and one, that kind of stuff. But Denver's for real because of what you said. They have a great defense. They still lead the league in sacks and defense travels and defense in January somewhere or February even, they're a factor. I mean, now it looks like I still think the Rams are the best team, but then you have to throw Denver in there. And I guess you have to kind of throw Buffalo in there on that second level, whatever that second level is. Knock on the Patriots where they hadn't beaten anybody. What, they beat Buffalo when they were bad, and now they didn't beat them when they were good. They were winning 21-0, 24-7 at the half. They'll have to make some changes to keep that the way it is if they get up that many points. The dopey person on Sports Center, I wish I knew her name, was like, oh, well, the Patriots were used to 28-3 once and winning, and someone turned the tables on them. Well, don't ever compare a regular season game to a Super Bowl game. I don't care what the regular season game is. But, I give them a lot of credit. I go quickly to the Rams, though, if I could, Joe, because uh, I really like the Rams. They had the dreaded minus 5.5, but then it went to 6, so I knew they'd cover, Joe. Uh,
I should have stayed
just
away.
kidding. I did want to talk briefly though, because this was a back and forth game, obviously. That Parkinson touchdown, I don't know if you guys saw it, where he caught it on like the 2 or 3 yard line, and they called it a touchdown, so they had to review it. But it wasn't a touchdown. The guy's knee was down, and he was clearly half a yard. Now, this might not have mattered. It would have been first and goal. He was clearly half a yard away. Plus, he bobbled the ball on the way down. So I don't even know if that was a complete pass, but they called it a touchdown. They went to wherever the review goes to, and they came back and said it was a touchdown. And in my eyes, there's no chance it was a touchdown. It was either first and goal at the half-yard line, or it was an incomplete pass. And don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for the Rams. But then, Naku is unbelievable. 9 catches,
9 catches, a buck
181
81.
yards, and a
Really? I mean,
touchdown.
come on.
I think he is the best receiver in football now, and he and Stafford have something going. Stafford threw an idiotic pick to Hutchinson early in the game where you were going, oh boy, maybe this is going to go the Lions' way. Goff was good, 25 for 41, 338, 3 touchdowns, no picks, so he didn't get that whatever the fear could be. But I think the Rams are the best team in football right now.
41-34. Johnny, they were down in this game, I think by 8 points in the second half. They scored when they scored 24 points in the second half. I mean, they can put up points, and Steve's right. Nakua might be the best receiver in the league. And then without Devontae, um, Adams now, not sure what
Adams
his
got hurt.
situation with the
Yeah.
hamstring. How
Yeah,
much
I
does
don't
that
think.
affect? How much does that affect the Rams going forward?
Well, the fascinating thing here is the biggest regular season of the NFL schedule is this Thursday night because you have Rams Seahawks in Seattle to not just win that division. Effectively, the winner is most likely going to be the number one seed through the NFC playoffs, and the loser is going to be in the road come January. And I think you like the Rams because Seattle looks so bad against grandfather.
Yeah.
But without Devontae Adams, they're going to be able to easily double Puka and perhaps get away with it in a way that you haven't been able to this whole year. So that's a fascinating game Thursday. And I think it's the biggest game of the NFL regular season.
Well, Phil Rivers has been given another start. Came very close to beating Seattle. Seattle needed a bunch of field goals to win that game. What did you guys think of old man Rivers?
Well, I just
Getting
have
back.
one thing to say. Look, this is what's wrong with the NFL now. It's so pro quarterback, so pro this, so pro that. He goes 18 for 27 for 120 yards. He threw the ball, what, 5 yards downfield? The one time he tried to throw it downfield towards the end of the game, he got picked off. Game was over. I give him credit for doing it. But I kill Seattle because what's Seattle? Oh, we're four. We get to the quarterback with four. Oh, we get to the quarterback
I
with
would have
four.
blitzed him every down.
Exactly. He fell down in the first quarter, and that was their only sack. That was a sack. He fell down. And frankly, that was the one time he looked like a 44-year-old playing football. But I'm screaming at the TV because I thought this was going to be a romp. And I'm like, well, hold it. If you can't get there with four, you should have gone with five early on. I know you guys are great, but they never got there. That was the only sack, and that was a sack when he was running forward and fell down. So I was shocked that this was even the game. But yeah, I give him credit for being there. But again, he's throwing, 5 yard passes, swing passes, screen passes, short passes. I didn't watch the whole game, but I don't recall him throwing anywhere down the field till the very end when he had to throw down the field to try and get something in field goal position. And Myers kicked the 56-yarder to win the game. You got to give him credit. That's a pressure kick. And Sam Darnold was good. Sam Darnold is good, but I thought defensively Seattle really screwed up because they had too much confidence in their own. And at some point in the game, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, you got to say to yourself, we're not even getting to this guy. Why? He's throwing the ball in 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, and he's getting the ball out quick, and we'll see if he can do that. He does have another game. I am impressed that he even, gave it a shot. Real quickly, Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman of the number one team in the country. We'll see how they do in the playoffs. He did, I think, usually you watch like a Flutie had a signature play against Miami with Gerard Phelan, and he had the touchdown pass to Omar Cooper in a Penn State game, and of course to Elijah Surratt in the Ohio State game. That was early third quarter, but did enough to go undefeated. And congratulations to him, Steve. I know you wanted to wrap with some hoop.
Well, just quickly on the cup, I still don't know what it's called. It's called the cup. But the Spurs beat OKC. That was the semifinal game. Unbeknownst to me, all these games were only on Amazon Prime, including the final, I think, which is tomorrow night. I would hope so. It's the Knicks. Brunson had 40. They beat the They beat the Magic by 12. I don't know that the Knicks are going to beat the Spurs. Wemby was hurt. He came back for this game against OKC. Only played 21 minutes. He had 22 points, 9 rebounds. I mean, the Spurs are a team to be reckoned with now. This year, I thought
Yeah,
about
they're
2
good
years ago.
again. Look, don't look now, but they're good again.
Right. And so tomorrow night is that game. But if it's exclusively now, look, I have Amazon Prime.
Let
Um,
me know how that game goes. Yeah.
yeah, it's just disgusting that the game Saturday was the game of the year so far. Spurs at OKC with Wemby healthy.
I think
The
that game is tonight, by the way, Steve. Isn't
I
it?
thought oh, Tuesday night. Today's Tuesday. You're 100% right. I went to the New York stations to see if it's going to be, and some of these things they show it where the teams are playing. They would show it on regular TV in New York. They would show it on regular TV, in San Antonio, but apparently that's not going to happen. So I think that's disgusting, but I'll just do this, Joe, as I always do. This is my final comment on this one because that's all that it's about.
All it's about. I got to be honest, guys. Saturday, it's a big. Black Friday's a myth. The biggest shopping day before Christmas is a Saturday before Christmas. But we got the Canes on at 12 playing Texas A&M. Eagles at 5. We got the Bears and Pack. We haven't even talked about the Bears. They keep winning and got a lot of good stuff going on this weekend, boys. But we'll be back on Saturday. I guess Saturday morning we'll preview everything. And then of course we'll be back after the weekend leading up to Christmas. But good stuff. Steve, you can follow him on his Facebook forum page, Speaking of Sports with Steve Kallas on his daily Facebook forum page. Follow this podcast on YouTube and all the audio outlets. You can follow me on Instagram at Joe Staszak 4799 or on X at Joe Staszak 975. Johnny, good seeing you, man. We'll see you guys just in a few days and enjoy your week.
Always a
Great seeing you
pleasure.
guys.
You too, guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, folks. We'll catch you in a few days.